How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Nun Gimel, Daf 153 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, Gewaldig. Well, we're going weiter on the details of Matnos Shchivmira. Yeah, that's kind of what we're going to do. Alright, I only got like 20 minutes until Shabbos starts, so we'll see what I can do. I might have to split this stuff in half. Yeah, because Shchivmira is getting kind of technical these days, but we'll see. Alright, we'll see what we can do. Says the Gemara 5 lines into the Amud and Daf Kuf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. Hay matnosa dahava kosuv ba b'chayim uvamovis. Interesting. So there was a matna shchivmira, and this is a matna shchivmira. The Rashbam says is a matna shchivmira b'miktsas. Okay. So this is a partial shchivmira. She goes to a kinyan. She kosuv ba kinyan v'kona l'divrei akol ben amad ben lo amad. Okay. Beseder. Nachon. So this is a what's it called? A shchibmira, matna shchibmira b'miktsas. It's a partial matna shchibmira. There was a kinyan, right? Because we learned the other day, it must have a kinyan. Okay, there was a kinyan, but peculiarly, it says, what did it say? It said b'chayim uvamovis, in life and in death, which is just kind of a strange thing to include in the document. So Rav says that it is treated like a matnas shchivmira. Okay, and therefore it is, and therefore if he dies, it's chal. If he survives, it is reverted. Okay, fine. Shmuel says, Harei matnas bari, it's considered like a matnas bari, okay, as if it's right, fine, okay. Rav Amar Harei matnas shchivmira. Rav says it's considered like a matnas shchivmira midichsiv ba b'mavis. Achar misa kamerle. So, of course, right, matnas shchivmira is chal after the person dies. That's when the gift is chal. So since the document says ba'mavis in death, so therefore it's considered like a matnas shchivmira. By dichsiv b'chayim, and the reason why it mentions when he's alive, simin ba'alma d'chayim. Well, we just don't want to, it's not nice to write just death. So you said chayim also, just like so that there's like good vibes, but really it's a matnas shchivmira la'achar misa. Shmuel Amarei Kamanas Bari, where Shmuel says it's like a manas bari. Midichsiv b'chayim mechayim ka'amar. Well, we treat it like a manas. Since it says b'chayim, so it means even in life, even from effective immediately. By the chos of b'mavis, and when it says b'chayim uvamovis, k'mandomer mi'atav arolam. It's basically saying from now and forever. So according to Rav, it's a matnas shchivmira. That's chal la'achar misa. And according to Shmuel, it is effective immediately. Amin Aydar, then Aydar say halacha kavasi de Rav, that the halacha is like Rav, that is considered like a matnas shchivmira. Amarav says Rav, because of ba mechayim, but if instead of saying ba'chayim uvamavis, it says mechayim, well then kana, then it's effective immediately because it's saying from already during my lifetime. Amar Meimar says, Ameimar leisuch sakavasu de Rava, that the halacha is not like Rava. Amle Ravashi la Meimar says Ravashi Tameimar Pshita. Of course, the halacha is not like Rava. To Amin Ardai ilch sakavasu de Rav. That the Nardayan said that the halacha is like Rav, that it's la'achar misa. Ma'adatema mechayim modi Rav komaj melan. Yeah, but I may have thought that Rav would only say that b'chayim uvamavis is la'achar misa, but mechayim maybe Rav would say is effective immediately. Kamash Blan that even Mechaim Rav would say is lachar misa. How also the Kamei of Nachman Linarda, there was a certain shchivmira who came to Rav Nachman in Narda with a document that he had written b'chayim uvamavis. So according to Rav, it would only be chal la'achar misa, and since he survived, it would be reverted, right? And we said the halacha is like Rav. So there was a certain person who came to Rav Nachman in Arda, Shadri lekam de Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba l'shum tamya. Now Rav Nachman, however, sent this Shchibmara who survived instead to Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba in a place called Shum Tamya. Omar, he says, Hacha, I'm here in Narda, Asra Dishmuel. I'm in Narda. Narda is where Shmuel lives. How, right? Heichi Navid Kavosi de Rab. How could I pass like Rab in Shmuel's own town? So, meaning the halacha is like Rab, that it's Kona Lachar Misa, and therefore since he survived, he can keep it. However, Rav Nachman sent him elsewhere for a psak because how could he pass like Rav in Narda, which was where Shmuel lived? So therefore, he sent him to Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba in Shum Tamya, so that he could. So that Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba would pass him for him that it would be only konen lachar misa, and therefore it wasn't chal since he survived, and therefore he can get his stuff back. There was a woman who came to Rava. Okay, so there's a certain woman who came to Rava who was a shchibmira, and she had written in the document that mechaim, right? Mechaim. Now Rava had paskin that mechaim is already effective immediately, and therefore, even though she survived, she would be unable to get the gift back. So she comes to Rava, avad lo Rava kishmaite, and Rava paskin like his opinion, which is mechaim is effective immediately, and she can't revert it, even though she survived. Havakotarda lay, and she was giving him a really hard time about it. Omar lay l'Rav Papa Breder of Chonan Safrei. So Rava said to his scribe, Rav Papa Breder of Chonan, Zil Ksovla, write her a document saying that she can get her stuff, but Uchsovba, write an addendum at the bottom of the document, Sochar lein o matan. It's a Gemara, it's a Mishnah from Bava Metzia, and he's borrowing it here to say, right, meaning you can, right, this is talking about, I think a worker who reneges, maybe on their contract, so you can either force them to hire others, or you can somehow trick them. So, basically the point being that, I guess he was like tricking her in a sense, and that any bezdin that she would go to with this document in order to get her stuff back would see that addendum and realize that it's not valid. Amra, and she realized what was going on, and she says to Rava, Litova arbe, may your ship sink. Atuye kamatasli, do you really think that you're going to fool me? Amshinu lamani de Rava b'maya, vafilu achilo yiparik mitiva. Rava, so she basically cursed Rava that his ship should sink. So he tried to kind of like trick the curse by like putting his clothing in water, and like that his clothing should sink, not his ship. But apparently it didn't work, and I guess his ship sank or something. I don't know, right? Al-Tahi, kill us. What does the Rashbam say? He says, right, Al-Tahi kill us hejit kala beinecha, that the curse of a simple person should not be taken lightly. Okay? What time is it? Oh, good. Okay, let's move. Says the Mishnah, Lo kosa ba shchib mira. So if you have a shchibmira who writes a document, but in the document he didn't specifically mention that he's a shchibmira. So who omer shchibmira yisi? So and he survived, and now he's claiming, look, I was a shchibmira when I wrote that document, and I survived, therefore I should be able to get my stuff back. Behein omrim, but the recipient is saying, bari yisi. No, it's a matnas bari. You can't revert. So Meir says that the shchibmira, the burden of proof is on him to prove that he was in fact a shchibmira when he wrote that document. The Chacham said that the recipient, if he wants to get the stuff from the shchibmira, he's going to have to bring a proof that it's in fact that it was in fact a matnas bari and not a matnas shchibmira which reverts. How matanto dahava kosuv ba, there was a matnas shchibmira that was written in it. Kad have a kotziv rami ba'arse, right? When it said in the document that he was sick and he was on his deathbed. V'lo kosav ba umigo mare ifter levei solame. And I guess this document, was written, after he died. And it says in the document that the gift was granted when he was on his deathbed, but it doesn't specifically say and that he then died from that illness. Rabba says, Rabba says, okay, it does not say specifically that he died from that illness, but we know that he's dead. We can visit his grave in the cemetery. I mean, as Rashbam points out, Uvasar Hashta is Linon. We go based on the current scenario. The current scenario is that he's dead. We have a document saying that he gave a matna shchimira. He's currently dead. Okay, we can, based on that, we can assume that it's a proper matna shchimira, and it goes to that person, and we're not concerned that he actually survived after that and died from something else, and if he survived, then the gift would be voided. Okay, that's the concern. The concern is that, well, maybe he granted this gift as a matna shchimira, but maybe he survived, basically voiding the gift, and then maybe he died from something else. But Rabba says, no, look, we have a document saying that the stuff goes, he's giving stuff to Ploni. We know that he's dead, so it's a valid matnas shchimira. Amalei Abai, but Abai says to Rabba, 1 second, why not so, 1 second. Hashdu masfina she ruban le'abed. If you have what's it called, a sfina she'avda bayom. If you have a ship that's lost at sea, the chances are it's bad news. People are not going to survive. And yet, and yet, if you have a Bas Yisrael who's married to a Kohen, she can no longer eat Truma because we have to assume that maybe her husband is dead. But if you have a Bas Kohen who's married to a Yisrael, she can't assume that her husband's dead so that she then goes back home and she can eat Truma again. Either what, right? In both scenarios, right? If it's a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen, we have to assume that he is dead and therefore she can no longer eat Truma. If it's a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, we have to assume that he's alive and therefore she cannot eat Truma. Meaning, even in a scenario where this ship was basically lost at sea, the likelihood of anybody surviving is very slim, and yet we are concerned that maybe the husband survived. Cholin, sherov cholim l'chaim, lo kol shekain. Certainly then when it comes to somebody who's sick, that most sick people live, certainly we should be concerned that maybe he survived, which would therefore void the gift. And therefore, how can you assume, right? It says in the document that he gave the gift when he was sick. We know that he's dead. What we don't know is that it could be that in between he survived and the gift was voided. So Abai says we should have to be concerned because since most sick people survive. Okay. Says Ravuna Breda of Yeshua, who does Rabba's opinion? Rabba who says that Azlinon Basar Hashta, that we go based on the current scenario, right? Rabbi was saying, well, we know that he granted the gift as a shchimira. We know that he's currently dead, so therefore we assume that he died from that disease, and it's a valid gift. So, like, who does Rabbi say? Like who is Rabbi's opinion when he says that we go based on now? Reb Nosson. It's like Reb Nosson. The Tanya that we learned about mi motzi miyad mi. So when you have a shtar, like in our Mishnah, where it doesn't specifically say that it's a matna shchimira, and now he survives, and the shchimira is arguing it was a matna shchimira, therefore I get my stuff back. The recipient is saying it's a matna zbari. So who gets the stuff? Who motzim yadein below raya ve'hein en motzin miyado. Basically, a motzi mechaber olav raya. The shchimira doesn't have to bring proof; he keeps his stuff. The other person would have to bring a proof if they that it was a matnas bari if he wants to keep it, if he wants to get it. Where am I? Div Rab Yaakov. That's Rab Yaakov's opinion. Rab Nosson says, in bari hu, that if he is currently healthy, olav laviraya. Well, we go based on now, right? If currently he's healthy, well, then we assume that it was a matnas bari, and he has to prove that it's a matnas shchimira, shaya shchimira. In shchimira, if he's currently a shchimira right now, who alein laviraya shabari hoya. Well, then the recipient would have to bring a proof that he was healthy at the time, and therefore, basically, you go based on the current scenario, right? If he's a shchimira, then he can keep it. If he's a bari, then he would have to prove that he was a shchimira at the time. Fine. Amar BavaBasra v'letuma kimachlokas, and says BavaBasra the same machlokas would apply when it comes to tuma. The Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah, bika biyamos achama rishus hayachid Shabbos v'rishus harabim l'tuma, that a valley that is fenced in. So for Shabbos it would be considered rishus hayachid, right? If you throw from rishus harabim into there, so it would be otzah merishus l'rishus. Now, but in in terms of tuma. Right, because of course, Safek Tuma b'Rishus Harabim is Tahor and B'Rishus Hayachid is Tameh. So Bika b'Yemos. So when it comes to this fenced-in valley, b'Yemos Achama in the summer. Now in the summer, because nothing is growing there, the public can use it. So Rishus Hayachid is Shabbos. So for Shabbos it's Rishus Hayachid because it's fenced in. But Rishus Harabim the Tuma. But in terms of Tuma, it would be considered Rishus Harabim. Safek Tuma b'Rishus Harabim would be Tahor. However, in the winter, where the field is being planted, right, the valley is planted, and therefore people can't go there. So Rishus Hayachid l'chan l'chan. So Rishus Hayachid, of course, for Shabbos because it's fenced in, but it's also Rishus Hayachid for Tuma, and we would say Safek Tuma b'Rishus Hayachid is Tamis. Now the shaila is, if somebody comes to Bezdin and says, "Hey, I walked through this valley, and I may have become Tamei Meis." Or become Tameh. So, are they Tameh or not? So, the same machlokas would apply. That if we say go based on now, so we say, is it currently the summer? If right now it's the summer, so it would be Rishus Harabim. Safek Tum Rishus Harabim would be Tahor. If it's currently now the winter, so then it would be Rishus Hayachid. Safek Tum Rishus Hayachid is Tameh. Or do we say that we go based on the Chazakah, right? And and a person has a chazakah of being tahor, right? He was tahor before, so he remains tahor. And so that's right. That same shaila would kind of apply. Do you go based on chazakah, or do you go based on the current scenario? When we say that that the fenced-in valley is considered rishus in the summer, is considered rishus harabim, and therefore safek is tahor, it's only so long as there was no winter subsequently, i.e. the fence was put up that summer. But once it becomes the winter and it becomes a Rishus Hayachid for Tuma, Rishus Hayachid l'chan l'chan, then it retains the status of Rishus Hayachid henceforth. Peace out.